Say there, Investor Dave, that is a pretty snazzy car you have there.
Why thank you, Jane. I bought it with my bonus money from my employer, Amalgamated Tax Credits of America, Incorporated. Your project helped pay. I loved working on your project.
Hey, remember before the 2016 election when you were pricing new tax credit deals at $1.20 per credit? That was sure good news. Back then, it was easy to understand what was good news for affordable housing and what was bad news.
Oh, sure, I remember that. No, actually, that was bad news. Our returns were so low that our investors were not happy and would not even take us out to lunch anymore.
Oh, well, maybe that was bad news. And then with the 2016 election results there was even more bad news, right?
The election? No, actually, that was good news. All of us investors knew the incoming administration was committed to tax reform in a way that would make us and our investors very happy.
Well, possibly that was good news for investors. And I assume that whatever is good for the tax credit investing community is good for affordable housing.
Well, sadly, no. It turned out to be bad news for you. If there is one thing we investors hate even more than high corporate tax rates, it's uncertainty. From the moment the new administration was elected, simply the fact that we didn't know exactly what they were going to do was a nightmare. We became pessimists and decided that the most reasonable thing to do was to fear the worst and price accordingly. Actually, one of our partners has actually made that their corporate slogan. It's a good one, right?
Oh, God, I remember that. That was terrible news. How could I forget?
Actually, it turned out to be very good news for us. Even though the corporate tax rate remained at 35% in 2017, we were able to price most of our deals as if the rate was 25%.
I can see how that might seem like good news for you, but not for us.
After that, of course, it was almost bad news for everyone. When the tax reform plan finally emerged, it looked like private activity bonds and 4% tax credits would be eliminated. Can you even imagine?
Dude, just thinking about that makes my head hurt. December 2017 is just a blur to me now. You made us create plans to draw down all of our tax-exempt bonds on our existing and closing bond deals at once. We had to learn about GICs and investment rates. What a nightmare.
Right, but don't forget that even though you spent all that time and money to avoid catastrophe, in the end, none of it mattered whatsoever. Private activity bonds were actually saved. So, even though they were never lost, the saving of private activity bonds is a huge piece of great news. Maybe the biggest affordable housing story of the year.
When you put it that way, I guess saving private activity bonds really was good news. Maybe 2017 was a pretty good year after all.
No, it was actually bad news. Remember that, even though bonds and 4% credits still remain, the corporate tax rate was reduced from 35% to 21%. That's terrible. Tax losses from your project are worth only 60% of what they used to be, because of the reduction in the corporate tax rate. That's really awful news.
I am really having trouble following this. I always thought getting a 40% tax cut would be a good thing.
Oh, no, it's bad. Your project losses are worth less to us than before. A reduced tax rate is the worst thing we could ever have imagined. Trust me.
It's become so hard to make sense of all the changes. Who can tell me if it's good news or bad news?